Okay, good evening, folks. This is Zach Ross in the booth here at Ox Billiards. We've got a great stream tonight between Garret Wilkerson and Scott Crawford. They are playing 10-ball race to 7. It is a rack your own format. Early 10-ball counts as long as it is called via a combination. 3-foul rule in effect. Scott won the lag here, so we'll be breaking off rack number 1. Yeah, he caught that break a little thin, but the 1 did go in the top corner, so he has a push-out option here now. Okay, I like this. He made it a little bit challenging with the cue ball pressed up onto the 7, but also left himself a shot that he might want to take on if Garret were to give it back. But I think if I'm Garret, it's early in the game, you take this on. Cue ball's natural path heads back down table for the 3. I just caught that one a little thick. Two does go by the 3 in the lower right corner. I like a little bit of like a pinch draw shot here, maybe a pinch stop. You're still leaving yourself a shot on the 3. Yeah, pretty much like that, but he ended up hitting the long rail first. And if you're not playing pocket speed, that will rattle. So if you happen to hit that just a little bit softer, but it hits rail first, it should drop. Yeah, so Scott caught that one a little too thick. He had the right intent with putting a little bit of left on it, but because he caught it thick, it just moved off the rail. Pretty nice spin masse there. Looks like the 3 leaked out just enough for it to go in the top right corner. So yeah, I think a stop shot here from Garret. And then take on the 4-6 combo, or you could play safe, where you bring the 4 to the left side of the 6, and the cue ball in between the 5-10. Yeah, nice shot there. So yeah, kind of a player choice here. Depends if you want to be aggressive. It was a pretty decent safe opportunity because when you hit off of this 4, you can actually send the cue ball between the 5-10, but He is going for this 4-6 combo, which I don't think is a terrible idea either. The way that this 4 is kind of going to shoot off of the 6, it might end up down by the 7. Again, I'd probably hit this with a stop shot. Nicely done. Yeah, so it ends up near the 7, but his cue ball came out just enough. Bank opportunity in play here. Yeah, I like his chances. This is a relatively straightforward bank. Don't need to put too much power on this. Since he's close to the rail, play with a little bit of top, which means the 4 ball will kind of widen off of the rail. So just needs to hit this with table speed. Excellent. We kind of dressed up the 5-10. The rack did manipulate the 5 just a little bit, but I think it might be worth taking on. Alternatively, what you do here is you hit the 5 very thin with follow on the cue ball, and the 5 runs into the 10, while the cue ball will travel to this left rail and down to the short rail. Try to be like a little bit of a safe here. Yep, just like that. Yeah, he overran it just a little bit, but decent enough safe. Still 5 balls on the table, so not the easiest gimme run out here. Yeah, I like Scott hitting this with follow. He needed to get a good angle on the 7. Just caught the 5 a little thin. Yeah, safety opportunity here from Garret. He could just do a soft bank on this 5 and bring it to this left rail. If you put a little bit of spin on this cue ball, you could try to bring it towards the 9. Yeah, kind of like that. He hit it a little hard, but actually landed pretty decent. Scott definitely has the back cut on this 5, and the cue ball's natural path goes 3 rails onto the 7, so just needs to make the shot. Yeah, I don't even mind hitting it with a little bit of juice like he did, because it's much better to be in line with the shot than coming up short, even if you're accepting a little more distance. You see, that one I think he just rushed. His previous shots, he took a couple strokes before he shot, and that one he almost got down immediately and sort of one-stroked it. I like Garret walking around the table here, looking at his next angle. I think that's something that's really important to kind of develop early on as a player. I've had to work it into my routine sort of on the latter half of my improvement here. Obviously want to think a couple shots ahead, but also seeing the table from a different perspective, pretty important. Now this one, because the cue ball's so close to the rail, it's going to be really hard for him to kind of put power into this draw to get back for the 9. So he may want to just focus on making the 8 and playing safe with the 9. Cue ball's natural path kind of comes out middle table, but it also comes into line with the side pocket. So just be careful about speed here. Yeah, hit it sweet. If he really wants to be aggressive, this 9 banks pretty clean into the bottom left corner. It's on the rail, but you can kind of compress this bank, and if you hit this with a little bit of right, maybe like 1 o'clock on the cue ball, and you hit kind of the right third, between the right third and quarter of the 9, this thing should go pretty clean. Yeah, you actually overcut that. But he's going to end up pretty nice. Pretty good two-way shot. So I definitely kick at this and call the bottom right corner. You can hit this with a little bit of bottom, maybe into... Okay, he's calling that. Interesting. He's going to be hitting this 9 a lot thicker, sort of on the top left facing. Yeah, like that. Kind of surprised he took that approach. I think if you try to come into the 9 the way that it was on the rail, you can kind of run the 9 down the rail, and your cue ball comes out middle table more. But stop shot here from Garret. Yeah, I mean, he he landed perfect on the 10. Just barely misses the 9. Almost overruns position, but lands pretty nice. Just stun this out to make sure you don't scratch. Ooh, he's very stretched out, though. Yeah. Get the bridge. I know how tempting it is to just kind of shoot that stretched out, but because you're stretched, it makes it way more difficult to pull off a clean stroke on the hit, so... Oh no, and Garret overcut this 10. So Scott will be the first one on the board here in this race to 7. It is a winner break format, so Scott will be breaking off rack number 2. All right, a little bit of an off-center break here from Scott. I break 10 ball the same way. Yeah, that's the ideal break. You get those 2 wing balls to kind of cross opposite pockets into the side. Cue ball lands mostly middle table, not quite center, but open shot on the 1. No one complains about that after the break, so yeah, pretty good looks here from Scott. I would draw this back. You do kind of have to be weary about hitting that side pocket, but he's actually going to roll forward here. Very nicely done. He's going to overrun position, but still get a look on the 2. Definitely like the safety play here. Sort of a stop shot bank. You bank this 2 towards the 3. You could also just run it forward a little bit. Kind of like this. Yeah. So he was really committed to the bank there, which is fine. He got really good shape on the 3, so if he would have made it, would have been in good position. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being offensive. You don't necessarily want to play a game timid, so I think going for a bank like that and getting shape, you should recognize that that was your intent, even if you missed the ball. So option here is to very thin cut on the 3 into the side pocket. Or you shoot the 3 all the way down. You shoot the 3 all the way down, you are going to kind of end your cue ball up on the right side of the table. Yeah, that's kind of what he's looking at already. The 5 does go by the 10 in the lower left. Very smooth hit. Landed exactly where he pointed. And see, that's a perfect example of assessing your options and your leave. So he recognized that the 5 went by the 10, and the cue ball's natural path was to cut that 3 long. So yeah, just barely misses that, gets shape for the 6. Nicely done. I would put just a little bit of right on this so the cue ball comes straight back across table, and you can take the 8 in the right side pocket. Yeah, I think he might have just hit that a little too thin, or didn't quite get enough spin that he needed, because by the time it hit the rail, it didn't take as much. But still pretty good shape for the 8. It's going to kiss off the 9 here. Getting shape onto the 9 can be just a little tricky. You have to avoid the 10. And you need to kind of stay above the 10 here. But he hit that real sweet. He landed very straight on this 9. And he drew it back real nice. Kind of a steep angle here, but kind of the best outcome for the position he had. Nicely done. This will stay up on the table. Yeah, nice out there from Garret. One, going into rack number 3. All right, this will be the first rack that we see Garret break. He's also breaking just barely off of center. A little closer to center than Scott was. But cue ball lands center table, and he made the 4 in the side, and the 1 is open. So great break here. This is an ideal break for 10 ball. Balls are mostly open. 7 will be a little tricky to get onto, but it leads pretty nice from the 6 to the 7. Definitely wants to run this cue ball middle table. Seems like he landed pretty straight on the 1. I think maybe he was intending to get a little more spin off of that 1, but because he kind of punch stroked that, it ended up being more of a stop shot. So if you hit that same shot with maybe a little bit more follow through, it allows the cue ball to react to the hit and take the spin. Gonna have to go for a kick here, or a little bit of a masse. He's gonna kick between the 7-8. I like this. Smart. It's gonna leak out for an open shot, but much better than a ball in hand. I like swinging 2 rails here around the 9 to get onto the 3. Nicely done. Needs to run a little bit more. He's good. Basically a mirrored shot of what he just did. Needs to swing around in between the 8-6. So hit this with a little bit of bottom left. Overpowered it. Yeah, stuck behind the 9 just a little bit. There is kind of a swerve into the rail first here. Yeah. But he's going to approach us with 2 rails. Which honestly, I don't mind. Okay, so he kind of froze the 5 to the 6. I feel like there is kind of a compression hit here where the 5 would go into the side pocket. kind of need to hit this 5. Well, he's going to be kicking at it. So it's got a lot of the face of this 5. I would be surprised if he fouls by hitting the 6. It just means he overcut it quite a bit on the kick. Basically, the 5 just rubs off of the 6 to pocket. So I would err on the side of caution here and maybe hit the 5 thinner than you would want. Yeah, because of that. Excellent. Really good speed. Just enough for the 6 to come off the rail to give him a shot. Now he's going to really want to swing this cue ball. I'd probably hit this between like 9 and 10 o'clock. The only problem, kind of looking at this, like you have to get around the 9. So if you put too much spin, it's going to come up real shallow and just hit into the 9. He almost shot it too well. I think his intended path was to go top rail, left rail, back across the middle table to the right rail. But because he hit it so thin, the spin didn't have time to take, and so it just came off the short rail and back down table. He's got a very thin 7 here. Oh, he's going to go for the kick instead. I think it's fine. Okay, at least the 10 is not parked in the corner. But ball in hand here with 4 balls. Good opportunity for Scott to reclaim the lead here. I think I take this in the top corner. As much as, as much as the side is kind of alluring, it's kind of an awkward angle. In this, you actually get to see more of the pocket by going top right. I'd probably just run this forward a little bit. Don't need to do too much. Or you can run it into the rail like this. Nice. Yeah, stun out from here. He should be good. Scott did what you're supposed to do when you get ball in hand with less than 50% of the balls on the table. He ran out. It's currently up 2-1. Race to 7 going into rack number 4. All right, get to see Scott break again here. Both these players have been breaking really well. The 10-ball break is a little finicky, so they've had some pretty good success. 4 again in the side pocket. Cue ball's running a little much, but you know, and bounce back out. He's got a clear shot on the 1. Stop shot here. If you're able to pinch this back, do that. Yeah, so he went for the stop. Left himself pretty good shape on the 2. Stop shot from distance, though, is sometimes difficult, especially if the angle like that, where you don't have to cut the ball a ton to make it. Garret hits this with a little bit of follow. Maybe even just straight follow. Comes between the 9 and the 6 and lands on the short side of the 2. I don't mind accepting short side here. So the natural angle here from the cue ball will either run into the 6 or go on the right side of the 6. So he's going to juice this with a little bit of top left to kind of tighten the angle. But he actually hit it way too thin. And I think the reason he hit that thin was because when you hit with top left, your cue ball deflects to the right. And so he didn't maybe compensate for the deflection as much. Or just barely mishit it and cut it too thin. Either of those options. Because sometimes you just hit a ball too thin. So he punched that hit. So if he hits smooth with maximum top, he hits the 1 ball, he hits the short rail, and the cue ball comes back down table towards the 2. But because he punched it, it took more of a 90-degree tangent off the 1. So he's going to call a 2 in the top left corner, which means he's going to kick going between the 7-8 here. Really good attempt. Got into the vicinity of where he wanted. I think if Scott plays this with follow, cue ball will come off the short rail and bump the 5 out. He just barely overcut that. Left the 2 pretty weird, though. I do like Garret stop shotting this to bank the 2 out and play safe behind the 3. Pretty good look here from Scott. Wanted to give himself a good leave on the 3. Pretty extreme back cut here for the 2. Seems Garret is entertaining the cut. I don't mind just kind of hitting this too thin and soft-ish and leaving it behind the 5, 7, 8 and bringing the cue ball below it, just like this. It's going to leak out. And I think he may have barely given a window here. But distance safeties are usually pretty good. Okay, interesting. So calling the top left just for insurance, but it could possibly hit. I was going to say it could have possibly hit off of the thin side of that 3 and gone in. Had he hit the right side of the 2 a bit more full. But his masse actually swerved pretty hard. Safety here, I would just hit this 2 very thin. And kind of send it just below the 7, 8 onto that rail. Cue ball comes back out. Sort of a finesse shot here. Yeah, nicely done. Scott does have the kick in play here. Okay, this is an aggressive kick. The safer kick would be to go towards the rail he's standing at. Yeah, unfortunately, he hit the 7 first. Yeah, he wanted to hit that a little bit harder. Didn't quite get below middle table he wanted on this 5. So perhaps a safety. I think you can hit this 5 between the 7, 8 and bring the cue ball above the 7, even if the 5 comes off the rail and goes towards the 8 ball. Yeah, you just hit this too hard. Nice shot here from Scott. He just needed a little more speed on this. Landed sort of in between. He may have a piece of this 7. It's pretty thin. He's calling the top left corner. Decent outcome, all things considered. Didn't have the greatest look on the 7. Kind of a perfect Y shape going on here. As you can see the break lines on the table where the 7 and the 8 are. And the 9, 10. Yeah, so Garret overcuts this one. And it's going to dress up for the corner pocket. Oh, no, it slowed. Thought it was going to take one more roll. Scott going to have to accept the bank here. Which I don't mind. You can kind of like schmedium hit this. Oh, he's going to go for the cut. Ooh, this is a very aggressive cut. My concern here is with this cut, you have so much speed on the cue ball that you land below the 9, 10, you hook yourself on the 8. But now he actually would have landed pretty sweet. Okay, hit this with straight follow. You want to land above the 8 ball here. Even if he were to land on the angle that he currently has, he would be fine. So it's kind of the furthest you want to go. Nicely done. The tangent line, however, goes directly to the lower right corner here. So he may consider hitting this one tip below center and driving this cue ball down to the short rail and out a little bit. Or hitting this with a little bit of top right because of this. Yeah. That's unfortunate. Oh no. Yeah, he's laughing. He knows. He knows. We've all been there. The ball in hand to get perfect shape for the last ball and you underhit. Yeah. It's like looking in a mirror. All right, thin cut here. Oh, and he overcut it. But he left this absolutely horrible for Garret. Woof. You imagine getting a second chance on the 10 ball and this is what you get? I feel like you just bank this, you hit it real soft, and you bring this 10 to that first diamond on the left. maybe even between the first and second diamond. But he's actually looking at kicking this. All right, Garrett, let's see. This will be pretty sweet. Kind of has the perfect V here. So what you do is just measure the object ball to the cue ball to that rail that we're staring at in the distance there. And just hit it smooth. You do not need a ton of speed here. Yep, I like the speed. Oh, no. Yeah, he just barely aimed that angle short. If he's an inch or two to the right, he hits that 10 pure, it drops. But Scott extends his lead here 3-1, going into rack number 5. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Let me know in the chat what your prediction for the score is for this match. Though y'all have got a little head start here as we're about a quarter of the way through the match. So first, scratch on the break here. A little too much cue ball movement. Garrett looking how he's going to get onto the 2. Yeah, I would shoot this 1 in the right side pocket with some follow. Angle looks pretty good here. Nicely done. You do have to be a little cautious. Cue ball may rub off the thin side of the 7 here, which will cause the cue ball to react a little differently. But he hit it good. Friendly bump on the 8 to get position onto the 3. Steph in the chat saying she sees Scott getting the 7-4. That's a pretty good prediction, sort of based on how these first few racks have gone. I think Garrett, if he corrects sort of his late game errors, definitely has a good chance to stage a comeback here. But as the balls dwindle on the table, chances of your opponent taking advantage become bigger. Okay, now what he can do, make this 5, play it with follow. Land the cue ball on the top short rail, and then just 6-10 combo. I definitely like that better than trying to make this and leave myself a 6-8 combo. There's one combo you got to take. It's the one to win. This is also one of those analysis paralysis moments. Think too much about the leave. But he hit it real smooth, and he landed exactly where I would want to be for this combo. So great job, Garret. Just focus, make this combo. Nicely done. He makes both balls. I was like, wouldn't that be tragic if it just made the 6 and the 10 just didn't go? But no, good job. Nicely executed. 2-3, going into rack number 6. All right, Garret breaking off rack 6. This is an ideal dry break. The balls are open, but there's no open shot. So definitely be different if the 1 was wide open, but oh, never mind. He made something on the break. Oh, look at me. He made the 8 ball. Don't often see the 8 ball drop early, so. I like kicking this from the top rail. Because there's so much more traffic down table, you kick this into the short rail and the 1 comes down. It could go between the 5-9. But now kicking this way, because the 1's headed towards more open table, the chances of it remaining open are higher. Ooh, I think the 1 goes by the 6. It might barely go. Name of the game tonight is Stop Shot. I feel like there's been a lot of shots where just need to stop the ball. He is going to hit this with a little bit of follow. It was a good idea for this safe. If he hits it a little bit softer, the cue ball stays a little bit more on the left side of the 6. But also wanted to make sure that a object ball hit a rail, so totally understand hitting with a little more speed. Still did not leave a open shot here for Garret. So he's looking at the kick angle. I'd err on the side of caution here and hit this thick. If you catch this too thin, the cue ball could trail towards his bottom right corner. Yeah, nice. The old reverse bank in play here. One of my favorite types of bank shots. Cue ball got away just a little. Gonna have to kick at this. I would hit this with draw. So you can sort of kick and stick. In order to kick and stick, though, you do have to hit this two pretty middle. Yeah, because he hit the thin side, deflected out more. But did not leave the open pocket. Saying hello to reverse bank again here. This one you want to sort of gin up with a little bit of left spin because you want to basically cause the 2 ball to spin off of the rail to take the angle. This way you can hit this shot with a little less power, but he's going to play safe here and just hit this thin. I like this. You want to be on the other side of 6. So he caught a little thick, runs into the 6. Nice kick shot here from Garret. Ooh, took on that thin cut in the side pocket. That's such a hard shot. Because you have to hit it with such speed to where it sort of hits the lip of the pocket and you just allow gravity to kind of take the ball down. But that was the thinnest of thins. Don't really have too many options here for Garret. 2-4 combo is in play. He could also hit this too thin and just park it behind the 4, like on the sort of lower right side of the 4, while sending the cue ball to the top short rail. I think that's a really good option. Just because the combo. Yes. Just like this. No! Stop rolling. Yeah, just hit it too hard. And when you hit a ball that thin, all the momentum, pretty much like 90% of the inertia stays with the cue ball. So you have to definitely compensate for that. Yeah, Scott needed to stop shot there. So the cue ball leaks out just enough for Garret to kick at this. He's going to grab at his extension here. Good safety here from Garret. Handled the kick well. Scott going to be looking at a 2-rail kick. What you want to do here is you measure sort of the middle between the cue ball and the object ball, and you kind of run that point. So he wants to aim basically the cue ball just below this lower left diamond. Yeah, nice. Either right at the diamond or just below it. You kind of hit right at it. Solid hit. Good distance. Safe. Long shot here for Garret. But if he can stop shot it, I feel like that's the magic phrase so far. Takes a 3 in the right side pocket. Yeah, just caught that one. A little awkward. I think he was trying to follow the cue ball into this rail, maybe come 2.5, 3 rails out. Question in the chat: what does the P next to their rating mean? It means preliminary. So both of these players do not have a 200 robustness. So in the Fargo rate system, once you have 200 racks played, you're considered an established player. I guess kind of like with APA where you play 10 games, and you're considered an established player. In BCA, it's 200 racks. So I guess if you're a skill level 3, your common race is a 2-2. So you would mostly play 3 racks if it goes hill-hill. So APA, your rating is essentially established at 30 racks as opposed to 200. Really nice shot here from Scott. Good position. Just needs to stun out and accept short side on the 6. Ooh. Actually landed pretty nice on the 6 too. I mean, it's a little steep, but the 7 is wide open because of the rattle. Garret has a chance here. Tied this game up. Yes, you are welcome, Steph. Thank you for tuning in. Always appreciate you hanging out. Really good angle here. Can just run this with a little bit of top. He can either land flat on the 7 or slightly above it to accept taking the 10 in the top right corner. Really player's choice here. So he came below it, and he came below it kind of steep. I don't really like slow rolling this because I'm hitting it thin, and if you hit with top slow, you'll take the tangent line into the top right corner. Yeah, in this case, he overcut. I think what you do with that shot is hit just like half tip below center, and you stun to the top rail. So yeah, I like Scott accepting the 10 ball below here. And he got quite lucky with the 7 rattling out the way it did. So now Garrett's looking at a kick. This is one of those kicks you want to hit wide. You definitely want to hit this on sort of the left center of the 7. So when you find the middle here, you want to aim, in his perspective, a little to the right. And ours, he wants to aim a little bit left of this middle diamond. I want to say like a quarter to the left of the middle diamond. But he's going to go straight up and down, which is also not bad. I think this ensures a little bit more safe. No. Yeah, he just needed to put a touch of right on it. Because he hit it so straight to the rail, just, yeah, straight back out. If he hits this about 1 o'clock, maybe between 1 and 2 on the cue, he would have hit that pretty sweet. So, yeah, both these players are playing well. Scott definitely getting some advantage here in late racks. I think that might be the second ball in hand that Garrett's relinquished. Nicely done from Scott. Extending his lead 4-2, going into rack number 7. Nice break here from Scott. He's eyeing up the 1-4 combo. Tough starter, but might be in pretty good position. Should he make this? Ooh. So barely misses. Can't quite tell if the one... I think it goes. It's going to be pretty close. Might barely breeze by the 4 here. Now he's actually eyeing up the 1-4 combo. If he does this, he needs to hit this cue ball with follow because he needs the cue ball to come out and to the left side of the 1. So the 1's going to kind of run and, yeah. This is, yeah, he kind of put his hand up briefly because I think he got a little lucky here with the way that spread out. He might be able to overcut this 1 into the side pocket. There's a lot of traffic down table, so it might be difficult to get perfect shape onto the 2, but if he can see a piece of the 2, there's definitely a safety here. Excellent. Excellent shot. Stay on the table. Stay. Stay.
Wow.
Yikes. That's not fair. That was such a good breakout. To even see like that was possible, that was really smart. Just a little too much speed. This game can be brutal sometimes, as we all know. All right, so Scott still has quite a bit of work to do here. Yeah, Alex, I agree in the chat. That was such a good breakout. It was great. He found the lane he needed to, and he broke it out. Just super unfortunate. But he's not completely punished here after the scratch, so I feel like anytime you are able to return back to the table almost immediately after an error, you should just ignore the error happened, you know? Like it's kind of easy for it to sort of sink into your mind when you're watching your opponent shoot several shots after an error. But in these kinds of cases where your opponent is kind of giving the table back to you immediately, then, you know, mistakes happen. You gotta let it go. Okay, a couple opportunities here. Yeah, he wanted to get around the 10. I was going to say banking the 3 up table a little bit more. Kind of would have lended the similar safety he wanted, as opposed to hitting it thin. Okay, bank on the 3 here, hit it smooth. Nicely done. Can go for another bank here, same pocket. May as well. Pretty much gives you good shape on the 7. Let me know in the chat, do you like playing banks? Because I love it. I mean, look at this. Whew, so smooth. And it looks so cool. Obviously, you should take the cut if because the cut is not interacting with another object. It's just a pure hit, but man, the banks are so satisfying. Banking in the top right. Now, thin hit on the 7 in the left side pocket. Boo, Steph. Take a cut before a bank. Boo. Nicely done. Yeah, I got a lot of action on this cue ball. Look at this. It's about to go back like 3 times. But most importantly, he made the shot and got a pretty good leave. Alex, I bank by vibes. Yeah, 100%. I will do a little bit of measuring, but for the most part, I just see it, let it rip. Oh no, Scott. He hit it too. He caught the top rail first, so he actually hit that a little thick. 8 ball parked in the corner here. I guess good news for Garret is that he just needs to clip this 8. Cue ball comes off the short rail. Obviously, you want to be closer to the 9 ball, but just want to make the shot, so. Yeah, a little heavy on the hit there, but the 9 ball bank is in play. Banks, 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 banks. Yeah, there's only a couple times I will measure a bank, and it's usually like a cross-cut bank where it's like really thin and you have to like bank it into a corner pocket. I'll sometimes walk around the table. But I don't use any like diamond system where like each diamond is worth 15 points and based on where your cue ball is. Very sweet. Nice hit. So just needs to do it again. Yeah, there's a lot of mathematical equations that some people use to hit their banks, but for me, very simple. Angle in equals angle out. So in this particular instance, it's almost a straight V. So I just look at the object ball, and I look at the cue ball, and I look at the pocket, and I find where the lines meet to the rail. And that's where you want to hit the object ball. Oh, he went for the cut. Interesting. See, Steph, that's why I don't go for the cut. Never just kidding. I think, yeah, so going for the cut there was fine. I think it's just he hit a little too much speed on the cue ball, because if the cue ball would have been on this left half of the table and almost parallel with the 10, it would make this much harder. Oh. Okay. Back-to-back misses. Yeah. Garret just needs to make this ball. I will point everybody to this YouTuber known as Charivari. Ooh, nice shot. Get back to that point in just a second. So if you're into sort of billiards education, there's a guy on YouTube. He goes by Charivari. He put out a video recently about, I think it's titled something like, "It's Not About Your Skill Level." And I think sometimes players put too much pressure on specific shots, especially dependent on where you are in the race. If you're down, if you're up, you add pressure to balls where, oh, I can get out from here. This shot is super important, as opposed to just approaching it like you normally would if it was the first or second shot on the table. So instead of thinking, oh, this is the 7th, 8th, last shot to get out, just think about it as if it's the first or second shot, and there's way less pressure. And I think that helps you stay within your ability as opposed to trying to push something that you may not have in your toolkit. So big spread here, but ends up dry. All right, so Garret came up a little bit short for this angle on the 2. Ooh, you know what I see here? Cross bank the 2 into the 10. I think he has just enough. So if you hit this 2 almost dead center between that left lower and middle diamond. Oh, he's going to kick. Okay. This is fine. This is great. I was going to say if you wanted to be aggressive and kick or cross cut that 2. But then if you miss, you're kind of dressing the 10 up right in the corner. So this is much smarter. Looks like the 2 possibly banks in the lower left. He will be running into the 9. Ooh. Pretty close. It's a really good two-way shot from Scott. Left himself the 3 in case the 2 dropped. Okay, so Garret is measuring where he needs to hit on the rail to hit this 2 thin to make it in the lower left. There's a method to doing this. You point your Q-tip on the spot of the 2, and then you extend it beyond the rail. So if you're standing parallel with the 2. But he eyed it pretty well. What you do is you take your thumb. This is kind of hard to explain without a visual. But you tip on the ball, and where the bumper is meeting your cue stick, you put your thumb there, and then you bring the tip to the edge of the bumper and your thumb will extend beyond the rail. So then what you do is point your thumb towards the cue ball, and that's where you would hit on the rail. I explained it great. Got two jokers in the booth here with me on silent. All right. Really nice kick here from Scott. I would hit this with bottom left. Yep. Just like this. Ooh. He did not come out enough. So he needed to be closer in line with the 7. Thank you, Alex. I mean, it's really difficult to explain a physical object in space if with my limited tools here. All right, I really like safety here. Just hit this with follow. Yep. Nice, nice, nice. He might have left this 3. Yeah, he did. Left 3 in the side pocket here. Yeah, Alex, I do need the drawing feature. That will be maybe in a future update. All right, guys. Yeah. Rumor in the room is that we might be having the draw feature implemented rather soon. So now I can sound smart and show off. Yeah, I know what Garret was going for there. He just wanted to hide the cue ball up table. 3 ball leaked into position though, so. Oof, the rattle. Just hit it with a little too much power. The Rason tables do not accept hard shots. Unless you happen to hit it pure, but from distance it's pretty difficult. Okay, thin cut here. Needs to be very careful about speed. This cue ball's going to travel a lot, so the last thing he wants to do is go 2 rails and come back below the 5-7. So yeah, so like I was saying, he actually may have I think he found the window. Yeah, he found the window. Oh, just the perfect little kiss off the 10. And here he is, perfect window between the 5-7 to cut this 4 into the side. It's a good outcome here from Garret. So Garret, oh, he's going to kick. He doesn't actually see the 4. Okay. This is great. He's had some pretty good kicks. He did leave the 4-10 combination, and if I'm Scott, I think I take it on, because what happens here, you hit the 4 into the 10. 4 is going to kind of stop where the 10 is, and the cue ball is going to come up table to where the 9 is. Oh, but he's going to call a bank here. Also not bad. If he misses this bank, cue ball should stay down here. Somehow found the window. And he leaves the shot. I could also see not going for the 4-10 because, again, you do not want to park the 10 in the pocket. So really just kind of depends on your play style if you like to take these risky, aggressive shots. It's way too much action on that one. He wanted to land below the 5. I guess that makes sense because you want to roll that cue ball up and then get onto the 6. It's sort of harder to get great shape on the 6. If you have to shoot the 5 in the lower left corner, you would certainly land sharper on the 6. So maybe he wanted to avoid that steeper angle. But keep it simple. It's kind of a mantra that I like to remind myself of. Excellent attempt. Okay, 4 in the lower right, 5 in the top left. Oh, just barely rattles the pocket. Landed good on the 5. So Scott will be accepting the 5 in the top left corner. Or the side pocket. Actually pretty ideal here to get on the 6. I don't mind accepting a long shot like this, especially with the angle that you have. It's better than being dead straight. Nicely done. Now this is going to be tricky because the 8 ball is almost frozen to the rail, and you really don't want to be shooting it past the side pocket. So I would run this with maybe just a touch of top left to come up and then back down table. Yeah, the shot is much harder now. Looks like the 9 is just beyond the point, so it is makeable. Just needs to hit this smooth. Now he's a little punchy. That shot is very difficult. It's almost like threading the needle with that kind of shot because you have to, even though it's like so close to the rail, you basically can't let it touch the rail at all. So I would go up and down table here. Just make sure I fall below the 9. Or parallel to it. This is okay too. He's just going to have to run this up. But luckily for him, the 9 is on the other side of the point, so you pretty much can't miss this. I'll bet $10 in the chat. Anyone who thinks that he's gonna miss this, you can go ahead and Venmo me, and if I'm wrong, I will Venmo you. Yeah. Oh. Hey, I didn't say anything about scratching. I just said he was gonna make the 9. All right. These guys. All right. This might be a perfect example of if the defense is harder than making the ball, then go for the make. I think the safety here is pretty difficult because you try to do separation, you're going to be sending a 10 ball to a rail. Yes, I like this. Just go for the bank. Hope for the best. Hit it with like medium speed. That way the cue ball kind of gets back up table. And if you happen to miss this 10, it should rest like middle part of that upper right rail. You don't want to hit with too much power because you do need the angle to take. Excellent speed. This is what I'm talking about. It's great. He obviously left a shot that can be made, but it's much better than hitting it so soft that the 10 just kind of creeps to the pocket. All right, so I know Steph would cut this. Who else is going to bank this? Who's cutting, who's banking? I think the cut is the right choice here, even though I'm a little partial to the banks. He has enough angle for the cut. Oh, he went for the bank. Yeah, that's the worry about that particular bank when you're banking. I guess that's technically short. Sort of the back and forth on the object ball. Oh, get in there. All right. Got a 4-4 game. Tied up going into rack number 9. Thank you all for joining us. All right, Garrett likes to break off almost center. I like just a little bit of angle, kind of gets the balls heading towards that pocket, but you know, he hit it sweet, so 4 again, left side pocket, popular ball, popular pocket. Okay, his cue ball may run towards the 8, so just needs to be aware of that. When he hits this 1, cue ball will go 2 rails. Again, like to point out that he likes to walk around the table, which is very big. It is a routine that you want to bake into your pre-shot routine. Especially with an open rack. Yeah, I think it was a little too focused on making sure that he got around that ball to see the 2. Just ended up overcutting. Yeah, Scott also overcut this one. He actually left the bank into the lower left corner here for Garret. And I like taking this bank on because the cue ball heads down table and you can accept taking the 2 in the left side pocket. Even if you were to come down lower towards this 5-9, you're also kind of doing a 2-way shot here where the 1 would be hiding around this left side of the 7-6-10. So, ooh, really good. I mean, it was almost perfect execution. He landed really good on the 2. Okay, bumps the 7, which also bumps the 10 out. Nice shot. All right, needs to be careful here. Does not want to draw too much off of this 3 and scratch in the right side pocket. He actually caught too much draw. I think just coming straight back across near the 8 and accepting the angle from that diamond just above the right side pocket and shooting the 5 into the lower left would have been okay. Alternatively, you have a safety there as well. So sometimes getting perfect position at the expense of making the shot is not worth it. He actually left Garret pretty good here, where Garret can just roll forward, take this 5 in the lower left. Oh, but he bumped the 7. This changes things. I think he's eyeing up the safety where you push this 5 down to the short rail, but your cue ball also rolls towards the short rail. I just hit it too hard. Yeah. He was worried about the scratch because the tangent line on that 5 was there. And the last thing you want to do is hit that 5 soft and just watch your cue ball kind of slow roll into that corner for a scratch. So totally get him wanting to hit that a little harder. Very nice shot. He saw that the 6 went by here. Left himself really nice. He may consider hitting this with follow to bump the 7 out. Yeah, he just needed a touch more speed. And maybe just a little more top so that the cue ball kind of gets an extra rotation or two in there. But I don't mind if he's able to... Okay, he's going to go for the bank. I wasn't really sure if it cleared the 9, but this may be a two-way here. Calling the pocket, but also playing safe. Yeah, that worked out well. There's a pretty nice safe here. If you can just hit this 7 thin, rest it on the left side of the 9. Cue ball rolls to the right side of the 9. Yeah, if this rolled out a little bit more, it would have taken away the side pocket shot, but I think the side cut looks pretty decent here. I think he may have just called the corner. That shot is much harder. You have to draw this ball. Otherwise, you're taking the tangent line straight into the drink. Yeah, I hit that pretty nice. Just barely missed. If you cut this 7 in the top left corner, cue ball will come 2 rails below the 8. It'll go short rail, right rail, and fall below. Alternatively, you bank this 7 into the lower left corner, and then you have the 8 in the side pocket. So yeah, dealer's choice here. He is going to go 7 in the top left. Maybe just a little too much power in that shot. Too much power here as well. But what I do appreciate is that they are focusing on making the ball, because as you sort of progress in your abilities, you focus on making the ball, and then you start lending more sort of credence to the cue ball leave. But sometimes you overthink the leave and you miss the shot, so it's still important to focus on making the ball, even if it means you're sort of relinquishing a better leave. until you can control the cue ball better. So, yeah, I like how this game's going. Both these players are playing really well. Playing smart. So yeah, 8 in the top right corner. Hit it with follow. Excellent. Except he's going to get screwed here. No, it stopped. Sweet. Nice shot, Garret. After getting screwed over on some leaves, it's nice to see him fall into position. Taking his time. You must treat every shot with respect, and he does. And he has taken the lead for, I believe, the first time in this match. And what a critical moment to take the lead. He needs 2. Breaking off rack number 10. So it's always good to just edge out and get ahead of your opponent. The closer you are to the goal. Thank you all again for joining us this evening. My name is Zach Ross. Here in the booth at Ox Billiards. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, ring the bell as well. Share with a friend. Doing a lot of great stuff here at Ox. All right, so Garret just hit the cue ball on the break, which is a miscue. So it is ball in hand for Scott, and he will be attempting the 3 foul here. We actually literally talked about this before the game started with both players. Just to reiterate the rules with them, that you do not have to shatter the rack. Okay, so the first foul committed by Garret. The sort of secret here is that you just break this out now. You do not try to make contact with the 1. You just accept that you're about to be on 2 fouls, and you shatter this rack out so that it's difficult to hide. Because if he tries to kick at this and he does not make legal contact, Scott will basically be doing the exact same thing that he just did, hiding behind the pile. So Garret will be trying to kick at this, but for all of you out there, that is the secret. When somebody does this to you, you just break the rack out. Well, he made a clean hit on the 1. So what do I know? Really good hit from Garret. Got to give it to him. All right, 1 is makeable in the lower left corner. You hit this with a bunch of follow, because you really want to try to break this rack out, at least a little bit. Um, Otherwise, you're not going to get any sort of look on the 2. If you hit the soft, the 6 just nestles up with the 2. Yeah, hit this with like between 11 and 12 o'clock. Yes. I mean, that was the attempt. Honestly, I feel like that's an outcome that would have happened one way or the other, just because that 6 was going to be a problem getting on the ball. Everything tied up with the magic rack as well. Yeah, that was going to be incredibly difficult to make legal contact with the 2. All right, Scott almost hid the cue ball from the 2, but Garret does have a look here. I think if I'm Garret, I just send this 2 to the left rail and follow the cue ball to try to get below the 5-6 there. Just kind of soft hit this. It's going to leak out. Yeah, just hit it too hard. I think one takeaway for him, when you're hitting a ball thin, you need less power. Yeah, nice try there from Scott to break that 3 out. He is going to have to run this up to the short rail with speed, because he does need one of these balls to hit a rail after. He swung it wide, but it's actually good that he did not hit anything. I feel like in that situation, it's better to just miss these completely rather than break the cluster out. So Garret eyeing up the 3-9 combo. Looks like it does barely go in the lower right corner. Nice shot. Just barely misses 3 in the corner. no. Okay. Thought he might have been hidden behind the 10, but he's actually pretty good here. May want to consider hitting this with a little bit of bottom right to bump into the 5 and break it out. Yes. Excellent. Yeah, that was going to be hard to leave himself good on the 6. And he actually missed this pretty good. Garret does not have the thin side of the 5, so he is going to have to kick at this. Definitely call the 6 ball here. Did not see him call anything, so I think he's just going for contact. This is okay. Still pretty tough to land good on the 6. You can stop shot this or pull it back just a little. Yeah. It's trouble with that shot. Ball rattling out. But good news for Garret. Thin cut on the 5, natural position for the 6. Maybe throw the cue ball with just a little bit of left. Just make sure you get around the 10 ball. Okay, bumped into the 8. Oof. Yeah, he's created a problem now. The 7-8 combination is not great. May consider hitting this and getting above the 7-8. It really depends of... Yeah, playing safe on the 7-8 will be pretty touchy. So yes, he is above. I think what you should do here is just hit the 7 thin, and you hit this soft, and you just accept that you're probably going to give a look to your opponent on the 7, but at least like... Yeah, because if you hit this... As long as you're not hitting with this a ton of speed, you basically would leave an awkward angle on the 7, and that's what he's eyeing up here. Because of the distance, this is a much more finesse type of hit than you would initially think. I like the speed. Oh, he just didn't catch the 7. That was clever. So he wanted to overcut the 7 to where it kind of just rolls onto the 8, and then the cue ball would hit that rail and go 2 rails and hide down. So I like that idea. Just needs to hit this with a little bit of draw to get above the 10. So he overran the shot, which makes this more difficult because he is now back cutting into a blind pocket. All right, Scott, to tie this match up 5-5. Nicely done. It'd be kind of hard to get onto the 2 here. But shooting the 1 in the left side pocket is the choice. Oh, we overcut. Very rare to overcut that shot. But very primo safety opportunity here for Garret. Bank this 1 down towards the left corner while you send the cue ball directly behind the 8. Don't need a ton of speed here. He can even hit this one thinner. But he's going to go aggressive here and try to kick this one in. So my thought with this is you can certainly make this shot, but you're going to be hiding your cue ball behind this cluster. So that's where I don't think this is worth it. Honestly, this is a better outcome for him because if he makes that, I mean, look where the cue ball is. If he makes that one, he pretty much has no vision on the two. And then ball in hand for Scott where you can combo the 2-10. Yeah. Just something to think about, especially with where the cue ball ends up on the table. It's calling the bank. I like it. Keeps the cue ball very separated from the object ball, which is always ideal. Safety opportunity here for Scott is you bank this one straight back up table and you send the cue ball below the 10. I love it. This is the speed. Oh, he just hit it too thick. Yeah. Totally the right idea. If he catches that one like on the right quarter, that cue ball hides directly behind that pile. Sorry, that was Garret. Nice opportunity there for Garret from the safe. So yeah, both these players really been improving, working on their craft. You can definitely see it in these sorts of shot selections and attempts they go for. Not doing anything too risky. They understand where the cue ball is going. Very nice hit here from Scott. Call the 10 ball all day. It's kind of difficult to overcut this 2, but it is there. I think you could go rail first to kind of breeze the 2. Oof. Just a little too much power because the pocket kind of shot the 10 ball out. If he hits it with maybe half of that speed, I think the 10 kind of, rubs the edge of the pocket and drops. Garret could overcut this 2 very sort of slow and soft and hit the 2 into the 4 and bring the cue ball to the right side of the table. This is also a good choice as long as the 2 gets more center. Yeah, so he leaves Scott the 2 in the upper left corner. The 2 would have ran a little bit more to the short rail. It would have been a good distance, safe. Yeah, nicely done. He could entertain the cross bank into the side pocket, but I almost like banking this 2 rails up to the short rail. This should work as well. keep it simple. I do not think he left an edge here. So he's going to have to kick rail first. Yeah, nice hit. If Scott takes this 3 in the side pocket, he needs to make sure that the cue ball comes off of the short rail and back out. I would not try to float this. There's just too much distance. And because you're hitting that 3 thin, cue ball momentum will stay mostly with the cue ball. So I don't even mind getting a little steep on this, just making sure I hit the bottom rail and coming out to maybe middle table, maybe even as high as the 6. Worst case scenario. But yeah, see, he floated it, and he may have barely got shape here. But typically you don't want to float a ball with distance. All right, Garret needs to hit this with draw. A little bit of left spin works just as fine. It's one of those shots where you're hitting it thin. Just go ahead and ride the cue ball up table. Again, this is not a float position shot. Yeah, even though he went a complete back and forth, this is totally fine. He has a good angle on the 5. It basically cuts straight across to where he can take the 6 on the side or the 6 in the lower right corner. He could even hit this with a little bit of follow if he wants to come up to the short rail. So a lot of choices here. This is great. He lands a little steep on the 6, but you play this with a little bit of top right. It'll shorten the angle that it takes off of the ball as well as the rail. And then he should have a pretty clean shot on the 8. Or you could just run this straight top, go 2, 3 rails even, and get position for the 8. So that's what he's going to do here. Just don't hide behind the 9. I think he might be hidden. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Just barely hidden, so he will have to masse around this 9. He is looking at the kick. I don't mind this kick. I would play it with a little bit of follow. Maybe just a tip or a half tip above center. Left it kind of awkward here for Scott. He could take the 8 bank into the lower right corner, That way he's setting himself up nice for the 9. If he does decide to cut, he's basically going to be going 2 rails to get above the 9, which I think is a little more difficult. Yeah, I'd rather bank this. And it hit it real sweet. So I think I would bank this in the top right corner and hit this with draw. He's so close to scratching though. So he's going for the cut. He needs to put left on this to avoid the back and forth. Yeah. It was a good hit. Yeah, it was a really good two-way. He landed very nice on the 10. Obviously was not going to be making the 9 with that angle, but, you know, separation here. All right, here we have the shot where the safety is as difficult as making it, so go for the make. Oh, he should have called the 2 bank. He did not. Well, he did leave Scott. Oh, he called that corner? All right, yeah. He must have called that corner. Maybe knew he was going to bank it short, so smart thinking. Sometimes the direct bank is not in play. This bank, however, is very much in play, direct. Back-to-back banks to get onto the hill. I think that's what I would like to see. As impartial as I am here. I love banks. I love seeing a rack being ended by a bank. No, he just overcut it. But he left this pretty strange. Lots of distance here. This is an angle that appears pretty often, but with the added distance. Really nice shot there from Scott to get onto the hill first. All right, really tight game here. Scott about to break off rack number 12 and currently on the hill. Doesn't quite get the safety he wants, but he did tie up the 2 a little bit, so good move there from Garret. Okay, Scott cutting this 1 into the top right corner. Cue ball will be moving quite a bit. May be able to find that perfect line to cut the 2 in the top left. Which he did find. However, he missed the shot. Very nice shot from Garret. He hit that with inside right to give that cue spin off the rail to hit into the 1. Very, very nice shot. Landed nicely on the 2 as well as you can, given that the 4 is there. So caught that 2 ball too thick. Landed pretty nice on the 3. The 3 does go by the 9 in the lower left corner. Looks like he has just enough room to reverse bank this 2. Yep, that's what I would go for. And just let this cue ball swing around the table. Okay, I think the 2 goes by the 9 in the lower right corner, so this is one of those shots that you just need to kind of roll up onto the 2. Then you'll have a look at the 3 in the lower left corner. It's kind of difficult to tell if this 2 goes. I think it might barely go. If he hits it with table speed or softer, he could go rail first, just in front of the pocket, and the 2 should drop. It's kind of a quintessential speed shot here. Okay, opts for the safety. I think it's a wise choice given his position currently. Your opponent on the hill, You definitely need to be careful. Safety attempt here from Scott. Leaves 2-ball visible to Garret. Okay, 2-ball lands a little funny here. Scott can make this in the top right, but he does have to hit this with follow. And he can't hit it too hard because he needs the spin to take once it strikes the 2 to make sure that he gets above that pocket line. Otherwise, you hit this too hard and it's cue ball in the drink. Yeah. Just a little too much speed. All right, cue ball ran enough for Garret to have a look at this 3. But tangent line for the cue ball heads towards the pocket in the lower left, so this safety is a little touchy. Well, he unintentionally makes the 3 in the side, so it is player option, and Scott quick to give it back, which is totally acceptable considering the layout. If I am Garret, I kick this to the top short rail and try to make the 4 in the bottom. And the reason I do that is because it's much easier to hit with this particular angle when you have a long angle than it is short on this short rail closest to us. So it's right attempt here. Oh, he just barely missed. But, you know, the way the 5-9 is sitting, I'm not too mad. I personally would rather shoot this in the top left and draw back, but rolling forward is okay as well. couple safety opportunities here. You cut this 5 towards the 9, and you bring the cue ball back up table. This works as well. He left a little bit of the 5. Maybe just enough for Scott to bank this. It's kind of tough to tell. He might have just enough of this 5. Yeah, and if he can bank this, this cue ball's primed for the 6 in the same pocket. Hitting a withdraw, though, is going to tighten the angle, so he needs to aim a little bit wider. Almost hit it nice. Okay, this is a stop shot safety. You're banking the 5-2 rails and you stop shot, or you draw the cue ball back an inch or two so you have coverage with the 8. He's going to go all out here, though. Top right corner, 5 ball. If he makes this, he should land pretty good on the 6. Very high risk, high reward here. Oh, and it rattles. Oh, but he also blocked? No, not completely. Scott can go rail first. A little bit of a spin doctor shot there. That was cool. Threw it with a little bit of masse. Okay. 6-8 combo. From distance, this combo, a little scary. Alternatively, you hit the 6 thin and you just rest the cue ball onto the 9. And didn't completely leak out, so Garret has a kick 6 into this lower corner here, lower left. It was good contact. I think he might have just put a little spin on the cue ball and it kind of punched out awkwardly when it hit that second rail. I think if he would have just maybe hit middle, the cue ball would not have followed the 6 as much. Oh, but Scott rattles the pocket. Okay, really good opportunity for Garret to get on the hill here. I like hitting this with basically straight top, maybe just a fraction of left to make sure I get middle table and kind of where I'm exactly at right here for the 8. He decided to spin inside. This might be okay. He might have to jack up just a little bit and hit with bottom so he can stun down to the 9. He's a little close. It's my only concern. Yeah, so he is jacking the angle a little bit. But he missed. Yeah. A little too concerned about the double hit, which is a very valid concern. Last thing you want to do is get ball in hand when your opponent will just have 3 balls on the table. Still not the gimme run out here. Okay, Scott hit the 8 nice. Okay, just needs to find his way back up table here. And he does. And this 10 ball for the win. Scott Crawford. Victory over Garret Wilkerson, 7-5. Really good match here tonight. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Zach Ross here in the booth, live at Ox Billiards. If you like the content, hit the like, hit the subscribe, ring the bell as well. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful evening. And we'll be seeing you at the next one. Y'all take care.